Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks everyone for coming. I'm so happy that I connected with Lamar and Manny just recently, and I'm happy that they're here to share about what they're doing in the blockchain space. Maybe we'll let Greg kick the show off. Possibly Greg's mic is not working.
Oh, hey. Can everyone hear me? Where did I drop?
Now.
All right.
We didn't hear a word, so you can start over, Greg.
Oh, all right. Welcome, everybody. I was streaming on YouTube already, so sorry about the mic thing. Welcome to the Intercoin Show, wherever you are in the world. Here on the show, we talk about crypto and smart contracts and how they're changing the world, both from a social impact point of view, as well as new innovations like the metaverse. And so much is going on. This week, we're going to be talking about NFTs, utility, scarcity, as well as what's new in 2022 for metaverse and augmented reality. As usual, we're joined by a lot of people from the Intercoin team. I'd love for everybody to just go around and sort of introduce themselves, starting with Stacey, Elena, Norman, Carter, Alicia. I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone watching on YouTube. This show is being streamed live. If you want to get more shows, just subscribe on YouTube if you're interested and get notifications. Also, highly encourage everyone to join our community forum. When you go to community.intercoin.org, you can sign up and participate in discussions. So it's not just about the show, it's about a movement that we're building, and this is the key. Everybody is welcome to discuss. We have long form conversations about all kinds of things. Just yesterday I posted about economics, who pays for storage, and what happens when they stop paying, and where does the hosting go. So we have, of course, if you want to have your voice heard, you're on the Telegram. And that's where you're probably listening here. If you're here, we can all have a conversation. It's like a little Twitter space, except it's on Telegram. So on today's show, we talk NFTs, we talk 2022 and what's coming up. So yeah, Stacey, kick it off. Say a little bit about yourself, and then Elena, Alicia, Norman, and Carter, and we can begin.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank everyone for coming. My name is Stacey Brown, and I've been part of the project for about 6 months now. My job is building the community, which is kind of fun because we're a block-based project, obviously, but it's just a little different because we're trying to build a movement. We're trying to, partnership and, get people involved that have the same morals and values as we have when it comes to like decentralization and, just making the world a better place. Making crypto go mainstream. So basically that's my job, and I'm just out connecting and meeting people, and that's what I do.
Fantastic. Yep, Stacey's building our community up. And then we got Elena, who's building our ambassadors program around the world. Elena, tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elena Rivers. I'm one of the advisors on the Intercoin project, and in my responsibilities is to promote Intercoin globally and to invite ambassadors to work with Intercoin in different countries, in different cities, and as well as helping team to grow. I love technology, I love NFTs, and one of the evangelists of blockchain, and looking forward to hear what our team prepared for today. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, Norman, you've been with us for a couple of years now. Not everyone, there's new people here, so just introduce yourself and what you're doing at Intercoin.
Sure. Oh, Greg. So I'm Norman. Met Greg a couple of years back at a crypto conference based in New York, and was immediately hooked on the vision of community currencies. I thought it was an idea that could really make a difference in the world. and have been helping out the Intercoin team ever since. So today I'm a team manager over at Intercoin. So, in addition to having helped out with fundraising, also helped with just daily operational things, making sure the trains are running on time and helping create and streamline certain processes that, our team uses every day. I'll give it back to Greg. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right, Carter, say a bit about yourself and how you joined the team, and then we can get into it. Meanwhile, I'm looking here. It looks like the YouTube needs a new stream key, and I'll take care of that as well. So, Carter, tell us about yourself.
Hi there. Hi, everybody. So I'm one of the newer members to the team. Been in Intercoin for about 3 or 4 months now. Been in the crypto space, since early 2017. I connected with Stacey on Twitter. I was introduced to Intercoin, obviously through Stacey, and it just caught my attention straight away. Great to see somebody want to actually have this technology used every day by people, and also obviously have a positive impact on people's lives as well. So I'm working on the social media, and also, like I say, alongside Stacey in the community. That's me.
Fantastic. All right, give me 1 sec. I am just trying to fix the streaming thing. I'm not sure why the stream key was set as duplicate, but I guess someone else was trying to stream at the same time. So just got to restart for a second. I apologize. In the meantime,
Alicia, did Alicia introduce herself?
Oh, Alicia, we didn't do Alicia yet. Yes, please.
Hey everyone, good morning. I'm Alicia Anglin, part of the Intercoin team. I do the marketing and also help Stacey with building the community and the movement behind Intercoin. Very excited and happy to be a part of it with the team. We have a great core team here. And I'm looking forward to all the future things, these great things that are coming up in 2022. I actually joined Intercoin through Stacey because I entered the NFT space last year. I've been an abstract artist for about 15 years now. So NFTs is fairly new to me. So I've been almost a year in that. So just really excited to be a part of Intercoin and everything that we have to offer. So looking forward to it. I'll hand the mic back to you, Greg. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, welcome everybody. I'm happy to say that the live stream has been fixed. You can see it here. So once again, welcome to everyone in YouTube land who's joining us. Sorry for the delay. We just got the live stream up and running. So if you want to jump on the Telegram and participate, you're more than welcome to. And like I said, if you want to keep the conversation going, we all of the guests on the show typically sign up for the community forum, because the community forum is all about discussing how and why these things are going on and how can we all make a difference. So definitely want to welcome everyone to the conversation. Speaking of welcoming people to the conversation, who do we have today, Elena? Who I would love to sort of get everyone up here to introduce themselves and talk about what their focus and interest is, and that can help shape the conversation for today.
We also have one of our ambassadors from Australia, Philip, on a call with us, and also Trust, one of our ambassadors from UK. Maybe they can introduce themselves. And actually, it doesn't look like the live stream on YouTube is still working.
It's working. It's going.
Trust, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trust. Thank you so much, Elena. I am still fairly new to the Intercoin team. I am happy to join you guys. I was introduced to Intercoin by my friend Elena, and I am happy to be here. Thank you, and thank you, Greg. Thank you, team. You are amazing.
Thank you, Trust. I appreciate it. And Philip, you're all the way from the land down under, Australia. How's it going there? How's the summer?
Yeah, pretty hot around here actually, but yeah, trying to press on with getting some stuff started for Intercoin. Since I received the ambassadorship, I've been working on Australian local government authority and started looking at local communities again. So hope to make some progress with that soon.
Fantastic. Here we have Philip on the community forum, by the way, right? So this happens. I write something like this yesterday, just spur of the moment. You know, I ran across this article. Do you really own your own NFT? Chances are you don't. And that's very interesting as to who has control, who has ownership, who's paying for the hosting, right? And as we get into it, there's a very interesting economic question, and it cuts much deeper than just NFTs. The idea is, who is ultimately responsible for hosting these things? And can we get away from centralized, depending on centralized entities with Web3, right? So just typically something like this goes on the forum, then we have a discussion. Philip, what did you think, by the way, when you read through this piece? I reposted it on the Safe Network as well.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I think the reason I got interested in Intercoin in the first place is because I'd been associated with the Safe Network for a long time, and Greg and Intercoin got a few mentions there. So that's how I came to look up Intercoin. So the sort of stuff that you talked about in that post was right on to the sort of things about why I thought the Safe Network was interesting. So yeah, it was quite an interesting place. I've got to look up some of your references that you had in there actually, but I haven't got around to doing that yet.
Absolutely. So just to bring everyone into the loop, and then Elena, I'd love for you to bring up a few people who are joining us today to introduce themselves and the topics that I'd love to talk about and bring up. Just to kick it off, so this is our team. You've heard some of them introduce themselves. This is our development team as well that I work with, and we're going to build the Intercoin app later this month. In February, we're going to be looking to release an app that helps you to create your own community, allow people to have roles in the community and manage all those roles, to have NFTs, to have NFT collections, raise money for your community and project, a lot of other stuff like that. And of course, to create your own coin, which is what Intercoin is all about. But I want to kind of review what we've already talked about NFTs in previous shows. You can watch them here. You can see them all on the forum or YouTube channel as well. And so one of the things that's important is to talk about scarcity and to talk about economics. You know, not a lot of people really dive into the economics of it and what goes on, because a lot of the time you kind of use it and you're caught up in the whole scene of what's going on. You think it's kind of cool to buy a Bored Ape, or perhaps in this case already a Bored Ape that's smoking a cigar with a punk and the thing, right? So a lot of people are trying to cash in, but what is it? What is happening? Well, you typically have some digital product that is attracting people. And this year is going to be the metaverse. Last year, it was NFTs started to become really big. In 2020, it was meme coins. What all of these things have in common is you have some sort of digital content, some sort of digital thing that's being produced. And there is a cost. There is a cost to produce the content, and then there's a cost to distribute the content. So these are two separate costs. One is to produce it. And we've been talking for a long time. Even my first company, qbix, which some of you might know, I've been running for 10 years a company to build sort of open source web platforms, and we have all these things. This is the qbix blog. We have users around the world. This is where Intercoin gets its users as well, by the way. 10 million people around the world. These are some reviews from India. We've got reviews from China, Greece, everywhere. So somewhere along the line, you know, we talk about all kinds of things, technology and so on. We were talking about creating digital content. And so digital content needs to be monetized. And so, we talk about essentially how to properly value contributions. Imagine if a digital content could be crowdsourced. You don't have to imagine, there's tons of them. So for example, Wikipedia is collaboratively edited, right? Look how much great content there is. But of course, no one in particular, let's take this obscure article here, it's random. They talk about it here, they discuss, they argue, and then when people actually see the final result, it is pretty balanced because it takes into account all the different viewpoints and all the different arguments that they had. Of course, if you interlink all these articles, you get a fantastic amount of content that could be helpful. See, and then you have structured content where you can see essentially the different attributes. Okay, so this is amazing, useful content. Another example is GitHub, right? If you go to like Linux, you could see the Linux kernel being developed right in front of your eyes every day, right? You see people 21 hours ago, 2 months ago, and so on. And you can see essentially the activity happening. So the difference between something like this and something like Twitter, for example, is that on Twitter, it's typically one account, one person or organization is behind the account. So it could be that multiple people are behind the account and they also do this sort of peer review process. Or it could be that it's someone just tweeting at 3 in the morning, for example, and sometimes it's interesting, and other times, it gets the account suspended or whatever. But the idea is that the President of the United States uses these things, as well as there's official accounts, there's unofficial accounts. So when we speak about freedom of speech and freedom of expression, you run this gamut of, like, on the one hand, collaborative work with many hands. Okay, there's a saying, many hands make light work. I'm not sure if it's an African saying or if it was attributed to, but it's certainly used a lot. And on the other hand, you have single celebrities like Picasso, right? And those works can sell for millions of dollars. So the question is, what kind of economics can we have? What kind of economics one leads to and the other leads to? So a question like who pays for storage is very important, because we're hosting the site here. If we don't pay our hosting company, right, the site goes offline. And we're responsible for making sure that the site is up and operational. Also, marketplaces like OpenSea, they don't take a chance with this. They go ahead and cache a lot of the NFTs. So even if a site goes offline for a little bit, at least OpenSea will be storing it. But look what's going on. OpenSea is a company that was funded by venture capitalists, Y Combinator incubated, and it is essentially a centralized gateway to what would normally be the blockchain, right? Etherscan is another centralized gateway we all use to explore the blockchain in a more geeky way. The blockchain, on the other hand, I'm talking here about the Ethereum blockchain, but you may as well talk about Polygon Scan, and OpenSea works with Polygon as well. The blockchains are distributed networks, and no one, can, if one node goes down, it doesn't prevent you from accessing the network. Whereas here, if the hosting company goes down, you better have some redundancies or something. So back to the question of who pays for hosting, who pays for storage. So it's a very interesting question, and it cuts to the heart of our economic system. When a project or a drug is researched or something like that, for example, when you have open source drugs, I wrote about this years ago. Oops, I guess I have to do this. So this is my own personal site, and you can see me for years. I have to, here's a great example. I have to renew my certificate as my personal site. I haven't done that. So what happens, right? You get this warning. And if people are relying on me, a person, to be hosting, they might be in for an awakening, right? If they linked to my blog and they want to do stuff, and then my site happens to not renew its certificate, that might be a problem. But it's also a problem when Apple doesn't renew a certificate for the App Store. Several years ago, they forgot to renew their certificate, and all apps on the Mac were talking about how, Apple forgot to renew certificate. I don't know if this was a thing. I can't find it right now. But it was very embarrassing that a company like Apple, with billions of dollars, did not renew the App Store certificate, so none of the apps could work. And they did it again a year later. So it showed that Apple wasn't really that interested in its Mac App Store as it was in the iOS, which would definitely renew. So what I would like to discuss on my blog here is open source. How can we use open collaborative networks to essentially develop things for our society? And so one of them is open source drugs. Oh my God, I did this 10 years ago. Okay, so open source drugs. I would love to eventually start this movement. So the drug research is usually paid up front. You need to pay for clinical trials. You need to pay for R&D. And in return, you ask the government to grant you patents and to go after people and prosecute them in court systems if they go ahead and infringe on your ideas. That's one way to fund things, and that's sort of the capitalist way. And you put up all the VC capital up front, and then you need to recoup your investment. If you sell your shares to the public in an IPO, then the public becomes owners, but they still Wall Street owners, and they will tell you every quarter, please do not give away your IP. Do not allow just anybody to freely build upon your system. So this is very, very different than how Linux does it. It's very different than how Wikipedia does it. And what I would say is most of these open source systems have created value for the world. It's because they don't find ways to restrict people from using Linux or restrict people from using Nginx or WebKit or any of a number of things that now power the modern internet. Rather, Web3 has invented ways to pay for these things using the network effect. So Ethereum transactions are being paid for with Ether, right, with gas through MetaMask and many other wallets. Because it's network effect, because the network's so popular, we could figure out ways to pay. And so we have the project called IPFS, Interplanetary File System, has come up with Filecoin. So if we go back a few years, we've got IPFS, one of the earliest projects to do this. To come out commercially, they make it so that multiple people can start hosting the same thing. And then the question is, how do you pay them? So they came up with Filecoin, which essentially was marketed, and it was $200 million, I believe, they raised with an ICO 3 years ago. So that's amazing. Now everyone uses Filecoin to pay for hosting and pinning things on IPFS. Another one is ARWeave, right? How many of you have heard of ARWeave, obviously, for NFT storage? Anyone here involved with storing NFTs or anything like this? Oh, did we, by the way, allow everyone to speak up? I just want to make sure people aren't force muted on this thing.
Yes, we allow when you're calling them to speak.
Anyone can speak at any time. All right, perfect. So just to review, ARWeave is another network that is paid in its own token. And a few years ago, Justin Sun, this guy who some accuse him of copying a white paper, but perhaps he didn't. And he said he knew people from Alibaba. He raised a ton of money for Tron. It was one of the first networks that's an alternative to Ethereum. This was before Binance Smart Chain, before others, and before XDAI Chain, I believe. So Justin Sun was an entrepreneur who decided, let's build Tron. And he actually did it. Whether or not he copied the white paper, to me, is not really that relevant. What's relevant is he executed, and he got Tron. He sold Tron tokens. And what did they do with this? Well, they convinced Bram and the people behind the BitTorrent project to release their own token. So what is BitTorrent? BitTorrent's one of the oldest networks for sharing content. Powers like 20% of all internet traffic, I think. I might be off with this. 20% of internet traffic. Let's see. What percent of all internet traffic is BitTorrent? So Netflix obviously has a lot because it's streaming movies. Look at that. In North America, 15 and 20% of all internet traffic. And yet we may be forgetting about this project, but it's huge. what kind of content is it streaming? All kinds. How do you pay for it? Well, in the past, you didn't. The idea was that you seeded your if you downloaded, then you were also required to upload and provide storage. There are all kinds of interesting economic models. One of the oldest networks was called Freenet. Freenet allows people essentially to store data, and it's unlike Tor and others. It's not stored on a particular computer.
Or to some of your guests.
Anywhere. What's that, Norm?
Do you want to give the floor to some of your guests?
Yes, in 2 minutes, I think. I just want to kind of lay the groundwork for this. So basically, all these networks like Freenet used idea of if you're accessing the content, then it will stay up and be available. Content that's not accessed will eventually be dropped. And so the idea of how do you pay for things becomes very important. And that's to sum up. If you are hosting an NFT, like we do with, for example, Token Society, a launchpad that we built NFT launchpad for, it's typically hosted in a centralized way and then eventually moved to IPFS. And so my point is, once things are moved to IPFS and, once things are sold out, and now suddenly the community is paying for the hosting. And if the community is paying for the hosting and sharing it and transferring it, then the question is, who really owns the project? So the thing that I find the most inspiring about Web3 is that rather than relying on centrally owned and operated websites like Facebook or big tech or Twitter or anything like this, you can start that way, but then gradually move it off to sort of community owned and operated networks. And as a result, is a way for the community to collectively own the network, which helps to distribute stuff. And so what the last thing I want to ask and bring up to the panel here and conversation is, what if it wasn't just the network cost, but what if it was in fact the cost of creating the content, right? So Wikipedia and Linux are examples of huge amounts of content where every person just made a small contribution. What if you could have a coin that people can earn whenever they make positive contributions? And what if they could lose that coin if they make vandalism and things that are deemed bad contributions? Then you could have entire projects done and created collectively, like they do in Hollywood, where they recruit people and they work part-time and they create this movie and then disband and go do something else. That's what I wanted to kind of bring up and contrast the model of one person or one group putting up all the money and then trying to control distribution, create artificial scarcity, versus the crowd sourcing something and then giving it to the public to remix and to do with this they will. So with that, I would love to open up the topic to everybody else. Who do we have today, Elena? Let's bring them up and let's have a conversation.
Yes, we have wonderful guests from Borderless Alliance. And please, Stacey, introduce your guests, and then we will go from there.
We have both Lamar and Manny from the Borderless Blockchain Association. If they want to speak about this topic a little bit, or if they want to move on and speak about what they're doing, and we can kind of like talk about what we have in common.
Yeah, thank you for that, Stacey. Thank you for the walkthrough, Gregory. I agree with a lot of things you say there, and I think there is issues that people are not talking about because everyone knows that are into blockchain that blockchain is amazing. It is basic. It is simple, but blockchain on its own can't solve anything. That's because you have to see that there is so many issues out there. And we are not tackling those issues. Instead, we are trying to see blockchain as our savior. And we can create amazing stuff. We have seen amazing stuff being created, but it's not sustainable. It doesn't work in the long run for different reasons. And One of the main problems is that how you can leverage blockchain to solve the real life problems we have. I can give an example there.
Please.
Say the climate crisis, right? We have so many blockchain projects. We have so much things out there, so amazing tools. But how have we helped that? We haven't. We have starvation. We have other problems. We haven't touched that, and we're not gonna touch that. Why? Because one thing to understand is that majority of the people in Asia, Africa, South America, that's around 6 billion people, I think, and I think between 50 to 63% are below the age of 30. So what do they have in common? It's tech, and they are pro crypto and blockchain. So education there is lacking. There is no education. People talk about what is crypto. Who cares what is crypto? Crypto is a fraction of the bigger picture. And as long as, like, I can give an example how you can solve it. So say at BBA, we face some issues where people don't value other people the same way. So someone in Europe may not value someone sitting in Nigeria or India. And for me, that's a big problem because everything should be skill based. So how can we then use this tech to solve that problem? Because if you can solve problems like that, then you can change how people think. And that's where the actual change will happen and where we actually can leverage blockchain as we want to solve all these big topics. So we had an approach there that people are programmed to think in a certain way, to react in a certain way. So I can give a clear example to all the guests here. If you see a yellow Lambo on the street, and you see an old Russian Lada, you're more attracted to the Lambo. That's normal. And that's the same when it comes to people, how we react when we see certain people. And we had an approach where we said, why not leverage NFTs, give our community avatars that provide services? Because then you don't know who that person is. You don't know if he or she is sitting in the States, in Sweden, or in India. So we are not programmed to think in a certain way when we see an avatar. So I mean, these kind of solutions where you can use very basic concepts and implement it in the real world, where you can actually make a big change. So if we get back to what you said about who's paying for storage and that it's centralized, right? And we've had these discussions a lot. And the thing is that the question one have to ask is, are people ready for something to be decentralized? Then we always get back to if we look at, I'm sure a lot of people here have been pro crypto and Bitcoin and blockchain for many years. And my personal reason why I jumped into this space was anonymous, decentralized. That was all I needed to know. And that's the same for a lot of young people. When they hear anonymous, decentralized, they're on. They love it. So the problem there is that it isn't decentralized. Sure, the tech itself, you can call it decentralized, but like you mentioned, OpenSea, you mentioned, like, even if we take Solana as an example. So what is decentralized? What is centralized? And then I was thinking about Algorand. You can call it almost decentralized, but even if everyone is hyped about the word decentralized, we are not. It's not attractive enough for us. That's why you see Algorand with an MC of I think $1-3 billion, and you have Solana X10, Ethereum X100 there. So
exactly,
I think education to learn people what content we put up, as you mentioned, content, like what are we teaching people? Is the most important thing what we want to accomplish, what we want to do, or should the most important thing be that how can we educate people so they don't buy lies? Like you mentioned that you had a very good point regarding to put up content and be get rewarded for good content, and you get punished for bad content. So then the question is, what is good content and bad content? So these kind of topics, like how we can leverage blockchain in a simple way instead of making it very complex, which is it's already a lot very complicated for a lot of people. So how can we bring in people into this? Sure, we have the young crowd, amazing, but then if we want to actually make a change, and if we are pro tech, then we have to realize that the underlying asset of crypto and blockchain is fiat. Without fiat injection into these projects, there is no way for it to grow. So who sits on the fiat, and how can we onboard those people to show them the benefits of this? So
I love that you're saying that. I love a lot of what you're saying, because Intercoin, and Stacey can jump in and talk about this too. Intercoin is different than almost every other project out there. Well, I think your project and CityCoins and others are also focused on this, which is how do you make a social impact? How do you actually use crypto to change the world, right? And I think that's really important, because I think one of the key factors is community. It's really community, like what you were saying, right? If it's centralized, if one person owns a forest privately, and then they can sell out, they can sell it to Coca-Cola or Nestle. It happened, lakes are sold. But when you have a community, or in this case, this year is starting to be the year of the DAO, right? DAOs can also be a way to structure these things in the blockchain. So a lot of I think it's really important to have, and tell me what you think, to use crypto for all these different applications. Use it for people to get involved in their community, for people to vote, for people to, perhaps even receive a universal basic income. It's sort of an airdrop where you have a community currency, right? Imagine like GitHub, or like you were saying, helpful contributions. If every project had its own coin, like Linux coin, WebKit coin, and then if you make a helpful bug fix, you get some of that coin. And if you introduce a bug, you lose the coin. Of course, the question of who decides if you've made something helpful or not, I guess the community decides. But the idea is that having all these ways to engage and to make a difference in your community is, I think, something that crypto absolutely needs to focus on. 2 years ago, I wrote this article in CoinDesk called "In Defense of Blockchain Voting," when we were talking about how you can make elections more secure and more trusted, and perhaps even importantly, increase the turnout because people can vote from their phones. That's still not happening. We're part of the working groups at the Government Blockchain Association on voting and other things like that. We build apps to help them connect. But at the end of the day, the crypto world is focused more on sort of these things like metaverse or NFTs, where some people invest first and then other people come after them. And the question for me is always, how do you get, like you're saying, real people on the ground, young people, get involved and benefit where they, I don't want them to escape into the metaverse because the life is shitty somewhere. I'd rather improve their life where they are and help their communities in the real world as well. So, yeah, I think these are very important concepts. And what do you think in terms of communities building, connecting people and getting them involved, in their communities, online and offline?
Yeah, I think regarding communities, that's why blockchain and crypto is so hyped, because people loves to be part of something. What that is, that can be discussed, but people loves to be part. That's why we have so much different communities everywhere. You have NFT projects, you have blockchain projects, and it's new communities every day. And we are taking those communities from the centralized Facebook. So it's very good what's happening at the moment, the transition, but I think that people miss out on the transition. They don't really fully understand what the transition means, because you mentioned metaverse, you mentioned all these DAOs and so on. The key thing, besides, sure, we can argue that it is community, it's community driven, but it's all about the incentive mechanisms. And one very good thing to push out is the voting, because voting have more power than money incentives today. People love to be part and vote on something. So if we can highlight that way more and make that a priority when it comes to building a community, it shouldn't be, okay, this is the token, this is this, and you get this value, but start to actually vote on things within the community to grow the community itself. I don't mean to just get more people in or create more value in terms of internet money, but do things for the community so they as people can grow. Because when people grow, then they can start doing better decisions when it comes to what we should do, how we should do stuff, what approach we should take. And then it gets back to the obvious thing that when it comes to voting and smart contracts, if you take United States at the moment, almost $15 billion in election campaigns, that can be solved for a couple of $100 today. So why aren't we doing that? $15 billion can be saved just in one country. So why aren't we doing that? Because communities today are more focused on the hype and the money incentives, the internet money. And I think the more we can push out together to show that, okay, voting is more than just vote on money or vote on this, but grow yourself. And I think everything starts from yourself. And if we can empower people on that level, I see a bright future for this planet and for the next generation.
You're
absolutely. We really appreciate that you came, actually, and we were happy to hear that Borderless Blockchain Alliance working with different ecosystems, and we interested to hear Mani, how he works actually as a community builder, how he works with communities for Borderless Blockchain Alliance, and what is your view on multiple players in metaverse, NFTs. If we can go towards this discussion, it would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Elena. Hi, everybody. My name is Manny Vergara. I'm based out of Southern California, LA. And yeah, I'm the Community Relations Manager for Borderless Blockchain Alliance. I was recruited by Lamar a couple months ago as an ambassador representing Mexico and North America, and transitioning into this new role. And as a recent college grad who got into the blockchain space in like 2016, 2017, I've seen a lot of the biggest thing, and I think it comes down to everything that we're speaking here, is education. The approach of how we speak to other people that have no clue how Bitcoin or crypto works, I think should be like a focus of us. Because I'm telling this personally because I try to speak to people here in LA, and they give me a cold shoulder, right? Because different religious views and things like that hinder like innovation and stuff like that. So I've learned that the approach that I have to like pay attention to as a community manager, right? As a community builder, the approach that you have with people who may know certain things, or people who just know the concepts, or people who just know like the front end or back end, or people who just know like hype words and stuff. Like it's important, your approach to people. I think that's a big thing that I'm learning as this role as a community builder, and through school, I've learned it as well. So I just wanted to add some things. It's pretty fun. It's pretty funny that you mentioned IPFS and Filecoin, because I was in Miami in December for the Decentral event. It was a DeFi and NFT event, and I was actually with the founders of Filecoin, or basically IPFS, and it was pretty cool to have network with them. And to go specifically to the point is, let's just be honest, right? We can talk about decentralization and decentralized storage, but let's be honest, who holds like the computational power in order to conduct all this, hash algorithms and whatnot? It's like, let's be honest, it's probably Amazon, Amazon Web Services, the Oracles, the Googles. Like, at the end of the day, they're the ones that have the computational power, the physical power, the data centers and whatnot. So I guess I have that that chip in my shoulder as a student who was promised like decentralization and at first like perfect like anonymity through Bitcoin. And then I realized, like, as a student, like, wait, Bitcoin, it's like a public blockchain, right? So like what I'm trying to say is it's still early in the space. So, there's a lot of people that go for the hype. But I think as a community manager, I focused on bringing value to a project, helping people see the value that such project can bring into their ecosystem and to other people's ecosystem. So, yeah, and just to close this off, all I think about is points from Greg and like Lamar is like music is a perfect use case for like this, because you have for music, for a song, it's not just a writer, it's not just like the people who play the instruments, it's like songwriters, people behind the scenes. These are all content creators. And then like it'd be beautiful to because I'm saying this is because a lot of NFT is going like towards artists and like the creator economy. That's what seems like they're the people that are adopting this a lot quicker because of the incentives, right? Correct. But to your point is people don't even know where that's being stored. So again, it's education, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a big focus is it's just education that can really help you build like a core community and just your approach. And yeah.
I also like what you guys are saying, and Lamar was asking, like, why don't we just move the elections onto blockchain? And, we can. Like the money quote that they decided to highlight is exactly the one I think is very important. That for every technology that we use today, there was a time when it was laughably inadequate as a replacement for what was already there. So today we use paper ballots, and they say, well, we don't need technology because it's insecure. Well, that is true today. I think we're going to get there, and we're going to get there with decentralized, Byzantine fault tolerant networks, right? So what people use today with multiple parties overseeing the election, multiple distrusting parties, that is exactly Byzantine consensus, just acted out with humans. And your guys are absolutely right. Like as we replace humans with technology for services, we get the cool things. Like here we are on Telegram, and we have now over 20 people here just in this chat being heard. And we can do video conferencing. My stream can be streamed to all of you around the world. Now, just imagine like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, even before voice over IP, how much did it cost to just do one phone line? $3 a minute to some countries, right? Internationally. So the fact is, people have replaced telephone switchboard operators that connected your call with, packet switching. And all of a sudden, cost went to zero, and now we can do all these things. So just imagine what we can do when the cost goes to zero of having an election. You don't need so many people. So absolutely.
Can I add something really quick to that?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Also, I like back in 2017, I attended like a Fourth Industrial Revolution conference, and like the head of Salesforce or a VP was speaking, and what he told me like really, really changed the view of how I was looking at emerging technology, blockchain specifically. He told me every 100 years, or actually it was a professor, and he like validated for me. He told me every 100 years we see industrial revolutions because of how information is transferred. We take it to like when we had cables and telegrams. That's how information was being transferred, and it caused like a huge amount of of innovation and whatnot back in the day. To my point now, with how freaking, how data is being transferred and hopefully stored and whatnot, like that's what's, catalyzing this fourth industrial revolution now, is because of these systems of the Internet of Things, of computational power increases exponentially, like the law of, I forgot what the law is called, I think Morton or something.
Metcalfe's law?
Yeah, that. So it's like, edge computing. So it's a lot of things that are attributing to this.
Oh, yeah. The more computers join a network, the more valuable it becomes. It could be the more fax machines are in use case. That was the canonical example. The more it's used to send the fax. That's certainly true of the internet. The more computers joined the internet, now we just come to regard it as like it's there. But it wasn't always like that. The internet had to be built. And all those miles of cables had to be laid down across the Atlantic. Now that it's in place, right? It's great. So I'd love to ask you guys more about the Borderless Blockchain Alliance and what you have been doing. What is your focus? Because it sounds like our values are so much aligned. We want to help empower people, unite communities, and just get real applications into their hands on their phones so they can actually do stuff, right? So talk to us a little bit about what your plans are for this year and potentially maybe what we could do together.
Yes, amazing. Thank you for that. Thank you, Manny. So BBA, it's a very simple concept. We try to solve the current problems that we see as obstacles for mass adoption of blockchain. One of the things are how creators get in touch with VCs, how that process is, because normally now one of our branches is the Launchpad, and what it basically does is that we want to solve this problem with, when you're on a creator, everyone can be that today, thanks to this technology. You try to find your VC and you get maybe 250K of funding, and you give out 6% equity. 250K today, if you're going to onboard a blockchain team, $100,000 of those 250 goes to recruitment fees. So just to fees. Then you have, if you're going to pay out salary for a month to your full team and build something, that money, that 250K is gone in 1 month. So you don't have a product, you need to go back to the VCs, ask for more money, give out more equity. So I see this as a big problem because it takes more time for good projects to be pushed out, and creators get exploited because they don't have any other options. So what we are basically doing, we have an ecosystem of 4 branches. The first is the Launchpad. It's connected with our BBA labs. We have almost 300 blockchain engineers and a bit over 200 full stack smart contractors. So they build the projects that gets funded through the Launchpad, and we have our internal panel there. They come from different industries. They know what works. So if they present something, we call it the badge of approval. If they present that to the VCs can be sure that, okay, this is not high risk investment, but it's high returns. And they don't need to wait 1 year for something to be built, because we already have the BBA labs that will build it for them. So it's a win-win for everyone. Then we have our community project. That's what I briefly mentioned earlier about giving out avatars to people. So we partner up with non-profits, blockchain academies, software solutions companies, and so on, to build an ecosystem that's sustainable. So if you give education to people, if you create more blockchain developers, which is very valuable today, you need to be able to give them jobs. And that's how we do through our Launchpad, through our clients we already have. And we use everyone that comes into our community to give them free education. If you want to just learn about blockchain, if you want to become an entrepreneur, or if you want to become a blockchain developer. So you have that options through our different partners. And then we have our BBA Invest. It's a invest fund to fund different projects that we think is good for the either people or the technology. We want to push out projects that will actually make a change, like Intercoin, how you present that, what Intercoin is doing differently to others, and that's exactly the projects we are after, because we are not after fame. The only thing we want change. So if you do it, I do it, someone else does it, amazing. As long as we see a positive change, we want to help and we want to be there. So the ecosystem, there is a lot to say, but to make it very simple is that the ecosystem is sustainable, because no matter where you go, you will get back and you will be able to create whatever you want for yourself. By providing all these different solutions to them, where say people in Africa, people in Central Asia, they don't have the money to pay $700, $1,500 to different academies to learn. Okay, so how can we onboard them? The only solution is free education. That's why education systems that exist in these different nations, they are lacking. They will lose the battle to these new creators. One of the examples are, I don't know if you heard about them, Morales Academy.
I've heard it a little bit, but tell the audience about it. Yep.
Yeah, Ivan Liljeqvist, he's from Sweden. He started Ivan on Tech Academy, it was called. So he's a software engineer. He jumped into blockchain and crypto, and he started a YouTube channel. Basically, he got a lot of followers, and from that he saw, how can I benefit other people? So he introduced blockchain, his own blockchain academy, and a lot of people that I've seen that have taking these courses, and now they make $10,000, $15,000 a month sitting at home. So this is the beauty with blockchain. As long as you can provide those kind of solutions, you can onboard so many people, because value and wealth is created by people. So if you can provide the necessary tools and make it more equal, then imagine how much all these young people can do for us, for society.
You guys are I'm struck by how similar our values and vision are. And in fact, when I'm reading about how you have set it up, and you talked about the BBA badge of approval, the NFTs, a lot of it is similar to what Intercoin is looking to do for all communities, which is, you guys have already done it for your DAO. It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have like an investment club for VCs. They can then vote on what projects they want to invest in the launchpad. Is that correct?
So it'd be the investors, but also part of our community members would be allowed to vote on such projects. So we would have we have 3 different tiers of NFT, like a membership that we would give out. So we would give like green to entry level participants. And then people who have like blue tier and yellow tier NFT membership as part of our BBA community, they would be allowed to also have voting rights in the DAO to choose what projects to be funded and forward, and so on.
Yeah,
Stacey,
regarding
go ahead.
that, sorry for interrupting. I understood what Manny said, and I understood your question for the launchpad, Gregory. Yeah, it's our internal panel. It's like we have Peter Xing from Singularity, we have Frederick, we have Tarun. We have people from different industries that knows what will work, and they know our visions, that we are not after fast money. We want to push out projects that will actually help people. So that's why we have the internal panel. When they vet a project, then the VCs will vote on it. If the VCs don't want to fund it, then the DAO can fund it instead. And that will be community driven, because the majority will always be the community, and we let all of them to vote there through the DAO.
Fantastic. Elena, didn't you introduce us to Peter, by the way, from Singularity University? I think.
Yes, I introduced you to Peter from Singularity, but also We have actually now on the call one of the co-founders of a very interesting project, NFT project. His name Arthur, and I invited him exactly because I think for new startups and new projects that already achieved some interest from VC, it's going to be easier to achieve approval on the system. And maybe we can give Arthur the opportunity to tell a little bit more about his project and ask questions from Lamar. Arthur, can you please unmute yourself?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, let me introduce myself quickly. So my name is Arthur. I'm CEO and co-founder at STEM NFT. And basically, we're building a project on XRP Ledger. So when we are talking about the approval of VCs, so that's quite an interesting question, because whenever I pitch XRP Ledger, that becomes really difficult part to explain. But it's actually rather interesting because XRP Ledger offers some nice features when we talk about NFTs. So whenever, for example, you try to sell or change an NFT on Ethereum or any other blockchain, you can do it OTC, and you will never ever pay any fee to creator or to the platform. And I think that's rather a big issue. But when we talk about XRP Ledger, so just to mention that XRP does not support NFTs yet, but that's an update to come within a month or maybe two. So the interesting part there is that you can integrate these fees natively. And whenever someone trades an NFT OTC, that will have to be paid anyway. So there will be no such way, for example, as I did. I managed to purchase a few NFTs as a private deal, and I got 50% discount. And what's interesting, this discount is not even recorded as a floor price on OpenSea. But if you do this on XRP Ledger, then this floor price will be recorded. But also, creator and the broker will receive the program fee, which I believe is really beneficial for the whole ecosystem. So this is pretty much exactly what we are building right now. Overall, we are making a whole ecosystem for the XRPL. And we started as a data aggregator where people can see, similar to CoinMarketCap, but very much focused on functionality for XRPL. And we have quite a few really interesting NFTs. And one of those which we are building are digital. That means digital NFTs, which can be redeemed for a physical object. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my child is screaming on the background. And these physical objects, so we have two collections. One is made from real meteorite, which I believe is really exciting, and one is on printed circuit board. So from meteorite, we have 10 of those. They cost 10,000. We already sold 2 to private investors, but we didn't sell any of PCBs yet. They are still in development. I can happily share some images later, which are really awesome to look at. But yeah, this is quite a brief introduction on what we are building and what we're trying to achieve. And if you would like to have any questions, I will gladly answer those.
Arthur, I just wanted to kind of ask you, the original topic that we opened the show with is about who pays for storage and who pays for distribution. And it sounds like with the XRP Ledger, it's very different. So I'd love to, what are your thoughts about what I was saying about centralization, where the creator puts up all the investment to create the content in the first place, right? Like, for example, a metaverse model of a city, right? That takes a lot of time for now. But versus having an open source sort of remix, right? And people can take a model of a city, remix it, make a new model of a different city, and then place characters there in the metaverse. Like, how do you see the economics of it working with the XRP Ledger, where the fees are lower? Like, how does XRP Ledger change the economics versus vis-a-vis, let's say Polygon or something like that?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting question as well. And since XRPL is quite a new player in NFTs area, right now people trying simply to jump aboard and become first by making some really bad decisions on implementation of NFTs. But right now we are trying to solve exactly this question, how we as a project are going to store these NFTs. Because when we talk about decentralization, in my opinion, decentralization is something that's incredibly difficult and nearly impossible to achieve, because in every decentralization, there always will be element of incentive, and every member will have to be incentivized somehow. So, for example, if we talk about, I will just jump to a slightly different topic, but it's quite relevant. So if you talk about proof of stake coins, so there is no decentralization because, as you mentioned before, most servers are somewhere on Amazon Web Services or whatever. And users who secure the safety of the network, they are incentivized by rewards, which are paid by the network itself. And this is also something different on XRPL. So the network, it's decentralized, obviously. It's a blockchain. But we also run a node, and we, as a validator node runner, we do not receive any incentives at all. So basically, our interest in running a node is our personal interest, which is getting the data from the node and simply securing the network and voting on decisions and being a larger part of community. So this is, I believe, how decentralization might be achieved. But when we talk about the storage of the files, this is something I wouldn't be able to comment that well, because we're still trying to sort this question out. And we are, as we speak, basically my team is looking at IPFS and how to store our NFTs in future. So this is really interesting.
So it definitely can help you with that. We could talk offline afterwards. Our team has been, working with decentralized systems for years. I'm sort of an OG in the space. Now I can safely say, I'm not an OG with Bitcoin, although in 2011 I knew about it. I didn't really amass large amounts of it, so I don't have the credit there. But in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been talking to some of the people behind these technologies. Like Philip knows, I've been talking to the Made Safe folks in Scotland. Well, one of the other people I've been talking to is the Cto of Ripple. Back then it was Stephen Thomas. And he is one of the Bitcoin OGs, okay? Stefan Thomas, I apologize. That's how you spell his name. And he had since then left Ripple and started to talk. He started Interledger Protocol. That was his baby, Interledger Protocol. And so they raised $100 million with Mozilla. Oh, Stefan Thomas. That's why, Stefan Thomas. So Interledger and Intercoin have a lot of also, there's so many people in the space that have shared values. So back in 3 years ago, when I spoke to him, he said, you guys are doing the exact right thing. What Ripple is doing with banks, you guys are doing with any community. Let any community have their own applications. He's like, use our technology, use our XRP consensus. And that's when I learned about the XRP consensus and the unique node list, right? So they have this approach, like you're saying. Each member selects the set of computers which they believe are unique and will not collude against them, right? So everyone gets to select their own thing. The only thing is that it's kind of like everyone goes with Ripple's list for now, and that makes it kind of centralized. But in principle, like anyone can just change it to their own unique node list. And if there are many, many nodes, then perhaps you can just randomly select some nodes and hope that those nodes are, in fact, not going to collude. Very interesting project, XRP. We're going to see what happens with the SEC lawsuit, but I know that those guys from day one, with OpenCoin, they were interested in creating a better technology. I should say also, I spoke to all the people in these spaces. So Ryan Fugger was the guy who started Ripple originally when it wasn't a decentralized network like XRP. He started it Ripple in like 2014. I actually remember Ripple before Ripple, before the open coin stuff, before Ripple Labs. So Ripple originally was actually conceived in 2004 as a way for people to issue their own credit and exchange credit. So they would extend credit to each other, and now we call it trust lines. And they try to replicate trust lines on the Ethereum network as well. Trust lines network didn't go very well, but Lightning network is similar to that as well. All the ideas are the same. People extend credit to one another, and then it kind of ripples across. So if this person wants to pay that person and they run out of credit, it can Ripple go around and around and try to like get the value that way. Anyway, I spoke to these guys. I also spoke to David Schwartz, the current CTO of Ripple. So although David's harder to get a hold of, but actually speaking of our forum, and you guys got on our forum, David Schwartz stopped by in our forum. So Schwartz, you could probably find him arguing with me 3 years ago about the design of Intercoin, Intercloud, which we're going to be building. So yeah, we got all these people. I forgot Joel Katz. That's his public name, Joel Katz. So like Intercoin Technology Consensus, for example, we've got Joel Katz stopping by. This guy is now the CTO of Ripple. So anyway, very fascinating technology, similar in many respects to what we're trying to do, but we couldn't go with their tech because the community might be small and they might have only 2 or 3 computers. So you can't really run a community currency securely with that few computing resources. So we needed to do something bigger for Intercloud. But I want to get back to the NFTs real quick. I want to ask sort of both of you guys to discuss the NFTs, because it sounds like what you were talking about when we're Manny, especially you were talking about having your own DAO sort of, and I like that you are giving out NFTs as sort of membership in an organization. How far are you with that, and do you already have the technology and the smart contracts to do that, or is this something that you are planning to do later this year, give out these NFTs?
Yeah, I can take that.
Yeah, I think Lamar is better suited for that question.
Yeah, maybe Lamar. I'm sorry. Yes, Lamar. What are these early bird tickets?
We've already built everything. We have our CTO, and they leverage BBA Labs, and they have already built everything. We don't want to, because we are a project that we don't go after VC funding. We want to build from scratch without having help from VCs to control what we want to do, what we want to accomplish. And so we've been working on this for 3 months, and they have built everything. We're gonna present it each month. We're gonna launch these different branches. And when it comes to the NFTs itself, I see the use case for that is what you do with it. And I want to attach that to real people. And why we even made that choice to present NFTs is because we want to show people that, hey, there is another way of doing things. So if you see through our page, we don't have a token. We haven't issued a token. We will not issue a token. Because we want to show that there is other ways to leverage blockchain to make a bigger impact. And to get back to your question, how if we have built it already? Yes, we've already built it. We're gonna introduce it, I think now end of February.
So what are the next steps for you guys, and how can a project that wants to go on your launch pad, you say you have here the steps, what exactly what's your roadmap for this year, and how can projects apply to be funded by the Borderless Blockchain Alliance?
Any creator can send in their ID, what they have, and that will be we have people that will go through that, and they will send it to the technical writers and to the internal panel, and that will present it. If they think that this is something that will work, they will present it to BBA Labs, and they will give a price and time frame for how much it will cost. Then BBA adds like you need for marketing, you need for this, all these different steps you need to build a community around it if you don't have a community already. And then it goes for funding from VCs.
Now, these NFTs, are they transferable? Meaning, if you are vetted as a member and you join, are you just in the middle of the night able to transfer your membership to anyone and then they take your place, or is it something where there's some process that you can only burn it and a new one has to be issued to the new members? Like, how does the NFT transfer process work, or is there an NFT transfer in this concept?
For the launchpad, yes. For BBA community, no. that's personal. They can't. If you start at say entry level, I think it's green. Then you can have that as a proof that okay, you were there, and then you can upgrade when you complete different tasks. Say you're an entry level person that's new to blockchain, and if you take X amount of courses at our partners, work on X amount of projects, you get paid for everything, of course. Then you can upgrade to the next level. So that's not, you can't transfer those NFTs, but for the Launchpad, yes, they can.
Okay, so the ones that are not transferable, I wanted to ask, you guys are in the NFT space as well. Has anyone heard of POAPs? I keep hearing more and more about POAP. You go to a Twitter space and then people give you a secret code that you can unlock that you were there, and you get on this list of people, and then you may get something eventually. Has anyone heard of this? POAP?
No.
I've heard of it once.
Yeah, I just started hearing about it because of Norman and then one other guy in Puerto Rico where I just visited. He's like, oh, POAPs, because they're event organizers. So POAP is basically a project that was done 3 years ago in a hackathon with Ethereum, and they made this app, okay? And it's sort of like this thing that I kind of hear about here and there. And when that happens, I know that your early days, like I kind of heard about Bitcoin in 2011. And I kind of really started hearing about 2012. That was the time to buy, right? But POAPs are different because I'm not sure exactly why they're transferable. The fact that you've been somewhere shouldn't be a transferable thing. You've been there, not someone else. But perhaps you can transfer the benefits of being there, I suppose.
Yeah. I think the whole thing around these is geo-based location minting. I think that's like the essence of these. But yeah, I agree. I'm not sure why you would want to transfer those unless yeah, I agree.
It's like, yeah, and then I'm working with people who are going to be running for office in the United States. I don't want to really reveal right now what or how, but I could just tell you that in the past we've worked with candidates who ran for president of the United States, not just one person, by the way, but one of them is Andrew Yang. So if I log in with my wallet over here, I don't know if you can, oops, I don't know. Whatever. I can't log in right now with the wallet, but the idea is that here, actually I can. Wait, connect. So here I'm going to log in to Yang 2020 with my wallet, and then I'll show you this later. So basically the idea is that we built a social network for the supporters of Andrew Yang, and now like 2 years later, we could do location-based stuff where you can come in, dance around with Andrew Yang, certain geolocations. You can reward a flash mob that shows up, and like the more people show up, the more they get, right? And then you basically go ahead and reward them with digital swag, if you will, digital merch. And these are in the form of NFTs. And what's cool is like in the future, you could have things airdropped to that whitelist. And some people really like Richard Hart with Hex. He keeps playing this up where you can do this like Hex sacrifice, and they literally get on a whitelist that like they pinky promise, but they don't tell you that they're going to send you the new token, the Pulse chain. So like that whitelist is around, and anyone can reward. So by separating the investment from the reward, they're trying to get around the securities laws, kind of saying, well, you're not really investing, you're just like sacrificing. But for me, it's interesting where the investment is not just money, but it's like visiting a place, forming a flash mob, right? Political campaigns like all around the world could use this in order to attract people to a movement. So yeah, I think there's so much potential to energize people. And then the other question I have is voting. What do you guys do with voting currently at the BBA? Like, how do you know it's secure when people vote? Like, how do you know? I guess everyone has their own wallet, or like how do they know they're voting for the thing that they chose, and so on? What do you currently use for your voting solution?
At the moment, we don't have any voting. Launchpad will be the first ones to vote on projects, and that will be through Snapshot.
A snapshot? I haven't heard of that actually.
That's where all the DAOs use, all the DAOs and so on. They use that. They made it pretty simple. The only negative thing with that, I don't know why they have it, is that they show how many people have voted on what, and that I think is not the best solution, because you shouldn't show who have voted on what, because then a lot of people, they don't know. They may sure for this when it comes to the launchpad, it's okay, but when it comes to voting on bigger stuff, then I don't see that as efficient, because if you can see what the majority voted on, you're gonna vote the same.
The same way.
Yeah,
Exactly.
especially if you don't understand it fully, right? If you haven't done your research and you're just able to vote. So I hope they change that. But for the launchpad, it's snapshot.
I think that some of the oldest democracies in the world, like the Jewish Sanhedrin or 70 elders, or the Greek democracy in Athens, they had ideas, and I think Romans had this later, where the most junior people vote first, the youngest members vote first, because the idea is that if the older members voted the senior members a certain way, that the younger members would, out of respect, vote the same way. So typically they try to make it so that the younger members voted first. But you're absolutely right. There's no reason to show how people voted before letting other people vote. It should be held secret and only tabulated at the end. All these kinds of things, including knowing who voted. Is it a secret vote, or do you know how every person voted? When we're talking about representatives, elected by the people, you might want to know who voted how, and we do in most countries. But when you're talking about individual people, you might not want that information to be public, because then you get these things. You get leaks and hacks, and literally, like, all data of all Brazilians was exposed recently, health data, and then you had Yahoo breaches and Equifax breaches, and here in 2020, all Israeli voters got all their data leaked. So you don't want that. So you give people tokens, and then you go through a mixer where these tokens are mixed up in a zero knowledge proof kind of way. Like, there's one Tornado Cash, and literally Tornado Cash is one way to mix up all of the Ethereum accounts and tokens. So once you go through mixer, then I think it's fair game. But then again, how do you know how do you hide the result of the vote until the very end? That's another hard problem. So that's what people are working on right now. So basically, you guys are at the forefront of what's happening. You guys have a DAO, you guys have voting, you guys are investing based on that voting. My only other question would be, how do you respect the results of the vote? How do you implement the results of the vote? Is it manual, meaning, okay, people voted, but the money is still distributed by humans, right, who carry out the wish of the DAO members? Yeah. Or is it like automatic through the smart contracts?
Yeah, no, initially it will be, people will manage it. People will manage it, because we see that, first off, a lot of people say people comes into the community. We want to focus that we want the community to be the biggest force here, and everyone have equal right to vote, same as me. Just because I'm a founder doesn't mean that I have more right to vote. So for executing it, that we don't see any problems at the moment, because whatever people voted on, that must be executed. But in the long run, we want to integrate all these branches and make a complete DAO. But at the moment, from my experience, from these different DAOs we've seen, it doesn't work. You can argue, you can be pro. I'm pro DAOs. I love DAOs, but the results are results. Facts are facts. It doesn't work. Like we mentioned earlier, what if people don't know what they're voting on just because of voting? So we want to grow this, so the community, everyone will be blockchain people, blockchain talent. They will understand more and more and be more aligned with the vision. Then it's okay to have a full DAO that will execute using smart contract, just no matter what's being proposed or what the results will be. But initially, I posted this earlier that at the moment, where we are as a society, we are not ready to have a fully decentralized DAO.
Welcome to Yang 2020.
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
app will help you connect with friends, discover new people with common interests, and much more. Let's get started.
I didn't realize it would start talking. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. So it's a hybrid. It has to be hybrid, because if you want to make something efficient at this moment, you can't have people that don't know what they want. Imagine if we get 50% every time. Like, how many people loses on that? So it has to be efficient. People have to learn, understand what's going on, why it matters, so they can bring their own value to it and actually vote on something that they feel is good for me, not something that I've heard on in media or social media that, oh, this is NFT just because you hear the word NFT doesn't mean that, okay, you should vote yes to vote on this. Does that NFT project bring any value to you, to your society, or to the planet, or to the upcoming generation? If yes, 100% vote on it. But if you don't sit on that knowledge and you don't understand the concepts of blockchain, then it will just make it inefficient. And that's why we see all these DAOs out there, they don't bring in any actual results. I gave the example, I don't know if you heard about Wonderland Time. Amazing concept. It is Wonderland. It's just a own fork, but still they grew a big community in a couple of months. I don't know, they are maybe above 150K or something. So the concept was amazing. Very beautiful concept to have a VC DAO and so on, buy up stuff and issue rewards to people, to the community. Perfect. But the thing is that society is as it is, so people will always exploit that, and that's what happened in Wonderland. All these the Frog Nations, we love this, we love that, and okay, in the end they almost killed the project, because I think 50, I don't know how many, but it was a very close call. People wanted to kill the project, the same people that were so pro this. So you see, it's different factors that you have to consider here, that why doesn't it work? And I think those questions is never asked when it's new technology. Like, sure, some people that are a bit skeptical, they ask them, but the people inside that buys the hype, they don't ask those kind of questions. I don't know why.
No, I think you hit it on the head. If you buy the hype and you're already invested in something, you don't FUD your own bag. Right. So if you believe in a project, of course, you're going to say that this project has a huge potential. And sometimes you shit on other projects, like Bitcoin maximalists say that everything else is a shit coin. So there's that kind of thing. But I often say that we're in early days, that NFTs and DAOs are a first generation technology, right? It's 1.0. And so there's going to be NFT 2.0. We believe that NFT remix, which Stacey and Elena could sort of tell you, that you need to be able to not just hold your NFT and look at it, but use it and even modify, and maybe like artists joining forces, right? Singers singing a duet together. That would be really interesting, create new stuff. So I think with DAOs is the same. Instead of doing DAOs, we have a lot of experience building communities. Here, I just want to show you really quick. So for example, just create a fake name, and you can actually sign in. So we build these communities where you could literally like set up whatever you want. I'm just going to real quick find a picture. I'm not going to find a good picture, but let's just take this one here. Okay, let's just zoom in, whatever, select it, set your location, set radius of how many kilometers or miles around you interested in, and then say something about yourself. Select interest in the community. See,
the more items you choose, the more people you can meet.
And the reason we have a computer voice talking is that we can make it international in multiple languages. So you have German, you have Chinese, whatever you want. And the more you select, the more people you can meet in the organization. So, I am just a test account. Don't mind me. And so look at that. I have a community now. I can chat. I can do video conferencing. I can
click here to invite some of your friends to join us.
Right. So we also have ways to pay into the community using the old banking system. And there's also ways to earn credits for doing helpful things, like bringing other people into the community, or like contributing good articles and comments and contact. So I can add people to contact. So I can add myself, Greg, and all of a sudden I've got this community where it's like you can start conversations with people and say hi, right? I can share files. I can do all these things. So the point is, I believe the DAOs are just a first generation, and I think community is ultimately.
Hey, welcome to Groups, a better way to make plans with your friends. Your friend just invited you to an activity, and they'd like to know if you can come. Please click either yes, no, or maybe. This voice will guide you through the rest of the app.
Right, there's ways that you can onboard people. I didn't realize all these sounds are going to play. But you see, the idea is that whenever you have events, you can see who's going, you can connect, you can carry on relationships with people, you can see mutual interests. All these things are going to happen with DAOs, where you guys won't have to bring up all of the events and all of the deal flow yourself. You won't have to be responsible for getting everyone involved. Instead, they will actually find each other, right? And they will basically go ahead and, search for events and then join things, as opposed to you having to do it all yourself. I think that's the future. If you guys ever need an app, by the way, like the one you're seeing here is one example of an app. My first company, qbix, builds these kinds of things for a living. So it's sort of like letting people connect and discuss things and get energized in the community. So yeah, I think DAOs are cool. I think the technology for creating voting is coming. But ultimately, we need to put it all together into user-friendly interfaces, and to have people use something more like this, at least something like that, than Etherscan. You know what I mean? So that's, I think, where the future is. If you could have easy-to-use interface, and the people can take actions without you having to do everything for them, then I think you're going to have a viral movement. And
yeah, totally. I think I really like that idea, and I agree with you when it comes to that we are we are at the infant stage when it comes to this technology. That's why I mentioned that we're gonna introduce a true DAO later on when people are ready for it. So I totally agree there. And I just wanted to bring in Stacey, because you mentioned something there that's something I had a call on yesterday, to be honest. We want to take NFTs, so I really want to hear, Stacey, what that project is, or how you go with that, because we had the similar idea. We are working on it right now to build, this is outside BBA, to build to take NFTs, and the owners should be able to animate them, to add stuff, maybe make them be able to talk, like Alexa that people uses. So I just wanted to hear Stacey talk about that project.
Yeah, I'm probably not the best person to speak about that project, but basically there's only so much you can do with NFTs right now. So it's just going to be basically a different level where you can actually collaborate, expand on design, so probably Elena is actually really good at explaining that. Sorry, I'm not the best at explaining that part of the project.
Well, it's an honor for me to talk about the project, but why do we need to ask someone else if the person who is actually genius behind the idea is with us? This project is originated by Greg, and that was one of the ideas of Greg that we discussed at one of our events half a year ago. And Greg is the person who actually get the ideas and then goes and implement the ideas. And in January, our flexible NFT was already deployed on 3 different blockchains. Greg, I know that you've been talking already so much about NFTs, but maybe you can give the idea totally to Lamarche with the deep explanation what's behind the security of NFTs.
Well, you talked me up so much, Elena. I'll just say really quickly, yes, a month ago we released our first NFT smart contract. It's been audited, by at least one group. We always want to create more audits, more eyes on it. We typically create things like a factory because we don't believe in everyone making their own custom smart contract. That's a source of bugs and a source of sleeper rug pulls, on line number 79, they could sneak in something. So notice you never worry about Uniswap pools, right? You never worry about producing one from the factory because they all work the same. So that's what we do. Our factory address is always the same across Ethereum, Polygon, Binance. Go to any one of these and create your own NFT. And what we're doing now is not just NFT. You could create your own NFT launchpad. You can create your own NFT project and sub projects. In other words, we give you the tools. You go ahead and create your own thing, and we might charge you depending on if you're a partner or not. If you're just someone off the street, no permission needed. You can go ahead and do it, but you might need to buy some ITR tokens, Intercoin, to make this thing work. If you want to do custom build outs and interfaces like what we have here, you can. Like I said, I'm working with politicians right now who are going to run for office. They want to have their own NFTs. Everyone wants to have their own. And another thing that we do is we build community currencies. So Stacey, could you actually talk really quick about the roles in Intercoin and the NFTs? These are not published yet, so these are, shall we say, this is a preview of what's coming. What are these roles, and essentially how are they going to work?
Well, what it is we're starting with ourselves. We're building out, and there's all these different roles. So basically, anyone that's involved within the company, whether you are a journalist, whether you are just a community member, whether you are somebody who has brought people to the project, like referred people, there's all different roles, and you'll get NFTs, and they will not be transferable. Yeah, like anyone, if you're an influencer, you'll get an NFT. There's just many things. We're just working on building this out right now. That we don't have a lot of data put into this yet, but Greg, we have the design and the vision and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be having a graphic designer start. I don't know if we decided if we were going to do regular NFTs or 3D models. We're still working out some of the details there, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be something that also like other projects will be able to use as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, let me just, Gregory, there. That's amazing. And me and you should definitely talk because I've heard some of the stuff you said, and I see how that can be implemented in some other projects, and that would benefit from your approach, because the tools you provide, I think that's necessary, especially for the creators that may not have that knowledge. They don't understand. They love it. They may have a concept, but they don't have the necessary tools. And I definitely think that you can provide those tools for these different projects that I'm thinking of. And we should definitely jump on a call when you have the time, so to discuss that as well.
I would love to. Elena, let's put together a group after this, and let's plan a Zoom call next week.
Yes, definitely. Because we work with several partnership companies, and we are building partnerships on a basis that support each other and provide each other services to others, companies with whom we are working. Like, for example, today, what we had I had a conversation with one of the startups who are looking for the funding. They approached us and they asked to help them. So we introduced them to BBA, but at the same moment, we can provide technical support to BBA as well as we can provide technical support for other startups. And we also have, I just noticed that we have one of the co-founders of other startup company, qbix, Susan Falola. Susan, if you have opportunity to speak, you're welcome to introduce your project as well. If you're looking for funding right now, at what stage you are? Because Susan, I know Susan for quite a while, and we've been in contact. She's building her community as well.
Sure. Susan, also Bernice, if you want to say anything.
Hi everybody. Hi Lena, how are you doing? It's actually
very well, Susan. Good to hear you.
It's been quite an interesting conversation this evening. I've not actually heard such a delightful conversation for a while in regards to why are we doing this, And the real reason why we're doing this is that there is, a disparity across the globe where, we have all of these new emerging technologies and we have all these, new ecosystems that are being built. But unfortunately, there's other parts of the world that are not actually benefiting from, the magnitude of what blockchain can do. So I actually come from blockchain from a supply chain perspective. So obviously in regards to crypto, I'm a bit still on the fence. For me, myself, I haven't actually, so I'm probably one of the worst people in terms of, I've only invested about £100 into crypto. So in regards to obviously my trading aspects, I would say I am not the trader. I would potentially more risk myself. So me as a person, I believe I'm more of an asset than actually, putting my money into something that could potentially, gain double or triple value in 2 or 3 years. So what I realized, obviously, with the Bitcoin is that obviously people have invested a lot of money, in the beginning areas, and then obviously made a lot of money because they invested early. Whereas the people that obviously invested at the latter stage, it now becomes more of an MLM scheme. That's just from my perspective. So obviously, for example, I said to you that I invested £100. At the same time I invested £100, I also told people around me to invest at that time. And somebody else invested 500. Another person I know invested 1,000. So we all made double our equity, if you can say that. So I made 200. The person that invested 500 made 1,000, and the person that invested 1,000 made 2,000. So, for example, I don't feel like that's a large enough value to tell people to obviously put their money into, these cryptos that obviously, it takes quite a long time before you get your return on investment. So obviously people need finance now. They need money, they need money to live. They need money to pay their rent. They need money to, invest in their children and their future. So I'm more from the value and supply, respective. So in regards to obviously my projects, I am doing similar to, what, others have said today, but I'm doing it very different from a design perspective and from how we, evaluate our stakeholders within the network. So we classify all the users as stakeholders, whether they're offering a skill, whether they're offering an investment, or whether they're offering an idea towards a potential solution. So for me, we have this, triangle vertical, which calculates those people within those verticals and actually gives them an equity amount. So for example, let's say me, Elena, Stacey, Manny, we were all part of the same group. That would actually qualify us to have a certain amount of equity inside qbix. So it's not just down on an individual basis, but it's the whole economy within that circular pool that actually competes against the other pools that are within qbix. So we actually segment the users based on their skills as well as obviously their investment value to be able to ascertain what solutions I've got the most traction in terms of people that I've actually matched to that solution, as well as what skills do we have matched to that idea. So obviously, when you talk about incentivizing, people within the network, we have the investor that incentivizes everyone because he has the money, and then we have the skill-based people that obviously incentivize the network in terms of what skills they can offer, and then last but not least, you have the idea people, the creatives, the people that would have the amazing ideas, but maybe don't have the potential to execute. So all people that are part of the ecosystem have that solid grounding of incentivization. And our go-to-market strategy is actually to do the opposite of, I think it was Manny, in regards. So we actually have partnered with AWS, Microsoft, and Oracle. So we are going through that route, through the cloud-based route. And at the end of the day, we say decentralized. There's no place where something is going to be totally decentralized in its entirety. It's just very impossible unless you're saying user to user. That's the only way something could be completely decentralized. If it's on a platform, if that platform is on a domain, that is definitely not decentralized. So in the sense of the way we do things, we want to go to market first by getting an early adoption of 100 universities. And we believe that that will offer the skill-based critical mass to have the experts on board, right? And then we want to actually have 50 financial corporations that have the funding, that have the finance, that have the investment to be able to facilitate those skills. And then last but not least, obviously bring it to market where people can actually, pitch their startup ideas or their social project ideas. Because at the end of the day, there's still, a negating problem that we all face in the world, that the poorer that people become poorer, it has a negative effect on our whole society and our globe as we stand today. And in regards to ESG, sustainability, economy, we've seen it with the whole COVID, and the lapse that it's had on our supply chains, and even the further lapse it's going to have. So let's not talk too deeply about COVID, but let's talk about the effects of what COVID has done. The effects in mental health, the breakdown in education for children, and also the fact that, our supply chain is heavily damaged by, the lagged supply chain that is now, people are now having to deal with all the backlog, of all of what has not been able to be achieved due to the COVID situation. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So we are basically halfway there, I would say. So potentially by August this year, we'll be launching the product fully. So yeah, that's basically, I hope I've offered enough insight, Lena.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan. It's great to hear that you're moving forward and nothing stops you in terms of COVID and post-COVID, and that you are helping a lot of people as well along the way. And that's actually the reason why it's the reason why Intercoin is working with different communities in terms of because community can help community, and we are looking for new partnerships as well as new ambassadors in different countries, and that's it's a great pleasure to hear that Lamar came to our event today, and that Manny came as well to tell us about the community of Borderless Blockchain Alliance. For us, it's very important to have the possibilities to connect with each other and to help each other.
Absolutely. So I love the community approach that we're all taking. I actually particularly like the Blockchain Alliance in regards to how they're building out their community, because it's similar to us. So we are asking participants to actually participate in building the qbix solution based on, if they believe that it will offer value. So we've seen a significant, rise of heads in regards to actually, communicating and actually effectively utilizing their skills to roll this out. So I definitely think there's that, I think, I don't know if it was Gregory that talked about earlier about, getting investment and then having to go again for another round of investment. And then in the end, the creators are a shortfall. At the end of the day, people do work for people if they believe there's a value created at the end. It's not just about money, you might want to hire the best CTO. We are in new trends, technology is moving every day. So for someone to say I'm an expert, that really goes over my head, because at the end of the day, if technologies go so quickly, how can you be an expert? Anybody could be an expert. It could be a 10-year-old, it could be a 20-year-old, it could be anybody within this fair that has actually taught themselves how to utilize what value blockchain brings. So yeah, that's all I would like to say. Thank you, Elena.
And I wanted to just, I have something to say there, because I heard that Arthur mentioned something about funding, and Elena said something about funding for Susan's project. And the thing is that today we are so lucky because VCs, they don't know what they invest in. Most of them, they don't know. And that's very positive because it's easier to get funding. The thing is that you have two different types of VCs. You have the ones with big pockets. The only thing they want from you is a short one-pager where you can explain why you are the next thing. Then you have the other ones that just want to be part of the hype. They want to have the pitch decks. But I wanted to ask Arthur there that how come you said that when you mentioned XRP, people are not that interested, and I just wanted to ask you, like, what's the response and why is that?
Lamar, unfortunately, Arthur was supposed to go to another meeting. He dropped out already, but I know that he already have interests from many communities. And that's the reason why I invited him to introduce him on our event. And I would be happy to share his pitch deck. And I would be happy to connect you with him later on as well. And like you said, we have plenty of things in Intercoin that can help your community. And we would be happy as well if you will introduce us to investors and yourself invest in our projects, because Greg have several companies and we are providing different solutions for different communities. But I think it would be fair to say that we cannot introduce to all companies that can benefit from investments at the moment. We have only 2 hours on our events, and it's the last 4 minutes. Greg prepared probably presentation to talk about communities, local communities and economies that we are building local coins. Probably that would be the topic of our next event, where we would be happy to invite everyone who is interested to know how to build local community coin in different cities and in different countries, that we would be happy to help you, because we have a technology and we have the total team support to provide you with the future possibilities for your local economies.
Yeah, thank you, Elena. I want to thank everyone for coming. Yes, next time we're going to talk about real world communities. We're going to talk about online communities, because all of them, it's kind of the same dynamic. You might want to have your own coin. Like, that's what we all started. You want to have your own currency, fungible currency that you could use. But then we found out they also want to have their own NFTs, which we kind of covered today. The one big thing I want to ask everybody here, if you can right now go to community.intercoin.org. Just go there right now if you're on a computer and you're on your phone, and just sign up, because it's a movement. Every time we have the show, we have more and more people joining, and people are going to want to ask you guys questions that they didn't get to ask because maybe they were watching on YouTube Live or maybe they weren't here. So we'd love for you to join, and then you just basically hang out and you get these emails like, please participate. We want everyone's voice to be heard, especially, for example, you guys are doing the Borderless Blockchain Alliance, where you actually stand for the same things that we do. And we all need to join forces. We need to have each other's back because we can't do it alone. As much as we think that we're making a difference, we can make a much bigger difference together. And I know that's what you guys are about too, because you have your DAO, and we have basically the show and the forum are a big part of what we do. So with that, I just want to invite and make sure that everyone has signed up to this forum. And as for the future, definitely let's get in touch. Let's talk offline about what we can do together. You guys mentioned we might be able to help. I'm very happy to do that. So does anybody have any final thoughts or anything like that? Feel free to share them. And that's it, pretty much.
I just want to thank Bernice for coming. That's somebody that I also met in the past week or so from the Borderless Blockchain Association. So I want to thank her for coming. If she wants to speak, she's more than welcome. If not, I just want to thank her for coming.
Perfect.
Also, I want to thank everyone that came, especially our two special guests that actually now I have such a better understanding of what you guys do. I'm going to do a lot more reading. I want to get a lot more involved. So I want to thanks for your time and thanks for being our guest and explaining to everybody what you guys do. And I'm happy that we have the same kind of vision and insight.
It's fantastic. Stacey, thanks for putting the show together. I think all of us working together, and I see every time there's more and more people, and now we're starting to basically make sure that we're all hanging out here, because between the shows and, you can't be on every time, but you're always, everyone here is welcome to come back next week and any week. Put it on your calendar. It's Wednesday at 12 Eastern time. So with that, I want to say to everybody, have a beautiful week, and hopefully we can change the world together.
Is there anything you want to add, Bernice? I see your mic is on.
Yeah, hi, Stacey.
Hey, thank you so much for speaking up.
Yeah, I've been listening and I love it. I love the community angle and cooperating and building stuff. So at BBA, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer. Yeah, and actually, I want to join the thing that Gregory said. I didn't get that. Our community, what did you say we should join? You said we should join something. And then you said community. So I didn't get that. Please repeat it for me. I want to join because I'm actually pushing for the freelance, the creator economy to join. So it should be like a highway. You can join here. You have like resources everywhere. So in NFTs, we have like, we want them to have many uses. Yeah, and that's it. So thank you, Gregory. I want to know what you said about a community I should join. So thank you, Stacey.
Thank you.
Thank you
everyone for coming. Hope to see you next week, and love to see you in our community as well. All right. See you.
Sorry.
It's all good.
No, I think she wanted you to restate how she joins the community, Gregory.
You simply visit community.intercoin.org and you follow the instructions that pop up on the screen. It'll be right there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Have a great day, everybody.